Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone on YouTube. Let me just do this. Can you guys give me a Y in the comments to let me know that you can hear me? Just type the letter Y, and we will go ahead and get started. I just want to make sure the audio quality is good. Hello, Mella, Ella, Ann. Great name, by the way. You Y. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys so much. So welcome YouTube. I am Jay So Extra. Welcome to my channel, Today's Celebrity News, where I cover the breaking news of all your favorite celebrities and also true crime stories. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment below. I have turned on the super chats and super stickers. So if you guys would like to do that, then you guys can go ahead and leave me a super chat. I'm going to put my Cash App in the banner below because you guys have been asking for that. Thank you so much for all of your Cash App donations as well. Let's see here. Sorry, I literally just got back from the courthouse because I was meeting with the family. They were doing a balloon release for Andre at the courthouse at 6 o'clock. So I wanted to be there for that. And I was able to be there for that with the family, and I will tell you how the family is in good, how they are feeling at this moment. Let's see, Instagram at Today's Celebrity News. Okay, so just to let you guys know, I am going to be going live for 30 minutes. And afterwards, you guys can go head over to Randomness Avail. He's going to be going live at about 8:30 or 9 p.m. So this is just going to be a 30-minute live, just kind of recapping everything. I do have some notes, so I'm going to bring those notes up right now. So as you saw from my earlier lives, Tim Norman was found guilty today. We're going to backtrack a little bit just to let you know how we got to this point. So Wednesday, September 14th, court was called to session at 9:30 a.m. The prosecution and defense were both given 45 minutes to make their closing arguments. After Tim's defense lawyer's time had ended, the prosecution was given another 15 minutes to redirect or rebuttal. So there were a few times in Tim's defense's closing arguments that he made some statements that the prosecution or the government objected to. What they were objecting to was that Tim's lawyer was mentioning things that weren't brought up in the trial, and he was kind of twisting the evidence. So the objection was that the evidence that was presented was being misrepresented by Tim's lawyer. So the judge was going to the judge directed the jury to use their own recollection of the evidence to draw a conclusion. Once closing statements were finished, Judge Ross read the deliberation instructions to the jury for the record. So there were several instructions. There were approximately 30 rules or instructions that the jury had to abide by. So the judge read them one at a time, like step 1, step 2, all the way until the end. And then after that, he released them to the jury room to deliberate. During deliberations, court was called to order twice so that the judge could read the notes that the jurors had for the prosecution and the defense. The first note was that the jury's request for the flight records for Terica Ellis and Andre Montgomery. Again, Terica's flight records show her leaving Memphis and going to Los Angeles and back after Andre's death. And then for Andre's travel records, they were showing when he left Texas to get to St. Louis. The second note was a request from Tim's text messages between he and his lawyers, text messages between Andre and Tim, and messages between Tim and Carl Napa, who was the professor at the Nellis Institute. So again, they were looking for text messages between Tim and Tim's lawyer. Tim texted his lawyer and let him know and said that he was not in town in St. Louis at the time of Andre's death. And then also there were text messages between Tim and his lawyer trying to ascertain whether or not Tim could sue the insurance company for their failure to pay out the death benefit for the policy he had on Andre. The messages between Tim and Carl had to be redacted so that the jury could only see the messages that were admitted into evidence. Now, there were several text communications between the representative from the Nellies Institute and Tim, but the only ones the jury were allowed to focus on were the text messages saying, hey, I am giving birth to an 18-pound bouncing baby boy with an attitude. Thank you so much for getting him into the school and looking out for him. Those were the only text messages that were pertinent to the investigation and were admitted into evidence. To recap, the jury has 15 members, 12 of the jurors are active, and the other 3 are alternates. So the only people who were deliberating and were able to vote were the 12 jurors. The other 3 remained sequestered away from the jury room in case one of the jurors was unable to make it to court and cast their vote. When it comes to the makeup of the jury, it is 9 men and 6 women. As we all know, none of them were Black. However, 2 of the jurors were non-white. So 1 male was non-white and 1 female was non-white. The jury worked through lunch on Wednesday, September 14th, and deliberated for nearly 6 hours. So we began with closing arguments on Wednesday at about 9 a.m. Again, both sides having about 45 minutes with also a 15-minute redirect from the prosecution. So the jury was in the jury room at approximately 11:30, and then they were asked at 5:30 that evening if they wanted to work through dinner, if they were close to a verdict, or if they wanted to end for the day and come back tomorrow. As we know, they ended for the day on Wednesday at 5:30 to return on Thursday morning. Okay, so Thursday, September 15th, the U.S. Marshals arrived to the courtroom with Tim at 9:39, which was much later than he had been arriving. Court was called to order at approximately 9:45 after almost an hour delay due to Tim's late arrival. The jury was brought in and instructed to take their notebooks and head back into the deliberation room. Now, this is Thursday. So later in the day, around 2:45 p.m., the jury sent another note for the judge to read to the court. The note indicated that the jury wanted to know why Daryl Howard's cooperation agreement was never presented into evidence. Side note, Daryl Howard never had a cooperation agreement with the prosecution, and the prosecution did state that for the record. The judge then stated that he would send a note to the jury stating that he is in no position to advise the jury and that they should rely on their own recollection of the evidence. The judge then asked if the prosecution or defense had any other objections to the note he was sending to the jury. At the time, the defense called for a mistrial, which was subsequently denied by the judge. So if you guys can remember, Tim's lawyer attempted about 4 times to request for a mistrial. They were all denied. His request for a mistrial was based on what he believed to be a lack of evidence from the prosecution to sustain or to support their charges of conspiracy to commit murder for hire resulting in death, and conspiracy to commit mail or wire fraud. So we came back on Friday, today, September 16th. We were in the courtroom at about 9 a.m. Thank you so much for the super chats. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Val. Everybody, Randomness of Val is in the chat. Let's welcome him. We have been working together since day 1 of the trial and for all 3 days of jury deliberation. So we began this morning with the judge again meeting with the jury and letting them know that they were still under a certain oath. They still had to abide by the rules and the instructions that they were given on Wednesday. They were to take their notebooks and go back and deliberate. Now, sometime between 9 a.m. and about 1 p.m., and about 12 p.m., they had an additional note. The note was requesting the explanation on what the difference between conspiracy for murder for hire and murder for hire was. Again, the judge sent back a note saying that he was unable to advise the jury at any point. Now, I have a note here of what time we were actually called in the courtroom for the reading of the verdict. Oh, it was 11:58. So I'm sorry, when I said 12 o'clock earlier, I meant 11 o'clock. So from the time they started at about 9 a.m. to about 11 a.m., they had 2 hours, and then they had that one question. Val, let me know if I'm wrong, but was there another note today? I believe it was just that one note that was asking the difference between, yes, I'm pretty sure, because Chronicle Speaks and I were talking about it. I'm pretty sure the only note today was the difference between conspiracy to commit murder for hire and murder for hire. So we could see the video screen of what was happening in the courtroom from where we were sitting in the media room. So the first thing we saw was the two marshals exit the courtroom. Whenever they were exiting the courtroom, they were going to get Tim. And we could see the court reporter or stenographer take her seat. Whenever we could see her take her seat, we knew that the judge was going to come in, call court to session, and either give us a note, or this was going to be the time that the jury had reached a verdict. So at this point, the only thing we could see on the television screen was the two marshals going out of the courtroom to go get Tim, and the court reporter taking her seat. So myself, Randomness with Vel, and thank you, Nikki, and Chronicle Speaks, we leave the media room and the overflow room. So the courtroom only had so much space, but anyone who wanted to see the trial could go to the overflow room. So which is also where the media was being held. So we left that room, walked across the hall to courtroom 12. And when we walked in, we could see the entire Montgomery family sitting in front of us, all of their supporters, extended family, friends of the family, and business associates of both Tim and Miss Robbie. They were all sitting in the very front section of the courtroom. But the first thing we really noticed, besides the family, were how many additional marshals were in the courtroom as well. To the left of us, we could see a young Black man in a U.S. Marshal's jacket, and then a white man in a U.S. Marshal's jacket. And then to my right, we could see two more marshals. So that told myself, Chronicle Speaks, and Vel, like, okay, there's more marshals in here, which means they're preparing for people to get out of sorts, if you will, and collect them and have them, settle down. So we took our seats in the press section. The next thing we see is the Griggs family coming in with their victim advocate. So we see the advocate, we see Michelle Griggs, we see her sisters, we see a cousin, we see the sisters, we see the brother. They all come in. So at that point, there was no doubt in our minds that the jury had reached the verdict, and that we were about to hear that verdict in the courtroom. Afterwards, Judge Ross entered. We were called to session. He did inform us that the jury had a verdict. At that time, the courtroom clerk went and got the jury, came in, sat the jury down. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. Once the jury took their seats, the judge asked the jury if they had a verdict, which the foreman did inform the judge that they did. The foreman handed a paper to the clerk. The clerk then handed that same paper to the judge. And then the judge read what it said in the paper. And the paper said, we, the jury, have reached a unanimous verdict in this case. From that point, I always thought that the jurors read the verdict, but the judge read the verdict. The judge read just like this. We, the jury, have come to a unanimous decision and verdict for this case. On count 1, conspiracy to commit murder for hire, we find the defendant, James Timothy Norman, guilty. There was silence in the courtroom because previously we were instructed that if we made any outbursts or any response, that we would be removed from the courtroom. So the Judge Ross continues to say, at count 2, murder for hire, no conspiracy, murder for hire resulting in death. We, the jury, unanimously find the defendant, James Timothy Norman, guilty. On count 3, that's how he was saying it. Count 1, count 2, count 3. Thank you, Rivka. Count 3, conspiracy to commit mail or wire fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find the defendant, James Timothy Norman, guilty. Now, we could see, again, Michelle Griggs sitting in front of us, and her daughter's next to her, or her daughter and her son next to her. And someone from behind her passed her a tissue because she was crying, but she didn't make it vocal. And we can it's understandably why she would be upset, because at this point, They got their answer. Justice had been served in their eyes, and we're finally at a close of this long ordeal for the family. So afterwards, the judge thanked the jury for their commitment and their duty to the country. So we left the courtroom after that. Then we went outside, and that's when people were coming out to make statements. The first person we heard from was Tim's lawyer, Michael Leonard. I had his name wrong. Please forgive me. Michael Leonard of Leonard Trial Lawyers out of Chicago. So we heard a statement from him first. And then we heard from the U.S. State's Attorney, their representative. I think she is the main U.S. Attorney. Her name is Sailor Fleming. We heard from her. And then also the two attorneys who tried the case, Gwen Carroll and Angie Dennis, they were also there, but they didn't make a statement. The U.S. Attorney, Sailor Fleming, made it very clear that they would not be taking questions at that time. They only made a statement. And in her statement, she thanked the attorneys for trying the case. She thanked them for being diligent and going through all of the evidence. She thanked the jury for going through all of the evidence and weighing the evidence as it was presented to them. And she went over the charges, and she basically confirmed what the charges were, how Tim was charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud, mail fraud, conspiracy to commit murder for hire, and then murder for hire resulting in death, and what all of that encompassed. She mentioned Travell, she mentioned Terica, she mentioned insurance policies. All of that was covered in my live. If you guys did not see that earlier, my live is up. You can go back and watch the U.S. Attorney give her statement. After that, I did interview Tim's co-counsel. Her name is Gloria Rodriguez, and according to court documents, the name of her law firm is Gloria, the Gloria firm, or the Gloria Law Firm. She is also out of Chicago. She gave a statement talking about how her impression of Judge Ross, how she didn't agree on all of his rulings, but she respected his decision. She informed us that she had been trying criminal law for about 11 years, and this was not her first murder case or conspiracy to commit murder. And I hope my question wasn't offensive to her. I was just trying to get more of a background of how much experience she had in this type of case, so to speak. We then heard from Kay, which is Andre's older sister. The family did come out and they made a statement. Also, Aunt Karen, who was Michelle's sister, she made a brief statement as well. Again, that was all covered in my live. So after that, the family left. I did not have an opportunity to talk to Miss Robbie or the Montgomery family, supporters, friends, so on and so forth. They left the courtroom in a different direction. Also, I didn't want to approach them because this is very sensitive for them as well. The Griggs family was willing to give a statement and share their thoughts and feelings. And their thoughts and feelings were they felt that justice had been served and that, they were happy. They felt at peace. Andre's mom specifically said, I feel at peace. I feel that we can rest. I feel that Andre's soul can rest. He's at rest now. You have to remember that Andre was murdered back in 2016. It is 2022. So they have been going through this for 6 years, trying to figure out who was the culprit and what was the reason for the crime. And then ever since Tim was arrested back in 2020, they've been trying to they've been waiting for an answer, and they got it today. So from the Griggs family, I talked to them later. They came back at about 6 p.m. and they did a balloon release for Andre. They had a message on the balloons. They all had on t-shirts that said "Justice for Andre." And from the family, they want to thank you all for your support, your thoughts and your prayers, and also your comments to show that you supported them. It's one thing to say, I support you in private, but you guys have been very vocal in saying we support the Griggs family. We support Andre's family. Justice for Andre, justice for Andre's mother and his siblings and his family. And they have seen that and they appreciate it. And they wanted to convey their thanks and their gratitude for all of your support. So earlier today, I put in my community tab that I was going to be taking questions from the community tab of my channel. So I am going to go to that community tab and ask the questions. And there's only 10 questions. So perfect. What was Tim's from Easy Peasy? Thank you, Easy Peasy, for dropping this question. What was Tim's reaction to hearing the verdict? What was his mood this morning? How did Miss Robbie react? Andre's family. Miss Robbie did cry. You could see her friends and family supporting her, touching her shoulder, giving her a napkin, wiping her eyes. There was a young lady who was sitting next to Miss Robbie who we believe to be Tim's girlfriend. She was crying as well. And, rightfully so, because now they see that Tim is going to be in jail for the next 30 years, anywhere between the next 20 and 30 years. So they were visibly upset, but again, they were not vocal. What was Tim's reaction? Tim was, I don't want to say stone face, but he definitely had a poker face. He did not show any emotion one way or another. He looked at the judge the entire time the verdict was being read. I locked eyes, not locked eyes, but I was locked in on Tim so that I could see his reaction. He looked at the judge the entire time. I did not see him look back at Ms. Robbie, look back at his family, or even look at Andre's family. He just looked at the judge the entire time. And I believe he did lean in towards his attorney once they got to the end of the verdicts for those 3 indictments. Andre's family, again, visibly upset. They were crying and just kind of consoling each other, rubbing Miss Griggs's shoulders, handing her a napkin, so on and so forth. So from author Tiffany Woods, did they poll the jury? Someone else asked this question as well. So let me start there. They didn't poll the jury because it was a unanimous decision. However, because there are 12 jurors, a unanimous decision for 3 counts, the judge went juror by juror to ask them if their verdict was indeed guilty. So he said, juror 1, is this your verdict? Yes. Juror 2, is this your verdict? Yes. All the way up to juror number 12. Was there any reaction at all from the defense table? I know the judge instructs against, but was wondering if it was something. Lastly, do you guys notice any silent or verbal or any sort of interaction between the Griggs and the Normans? Thank you so much for your hard work. Again, that's from author Tiffany Woods. Now, again, the 2 families have been separated this entire time because the Griggs family, Andre's family, is a victim family, and the Montgomerys are a defendant's family. So it's not kosher for the 2 families to interact. And I think they were all kind of living in their own sadness and grief at that moment, that they weren't able to console the other family members or the other parties, or even, look to them for to gauge what their feelings are. Everyone was kind of in their own bubble of a storm, if you will. No reaction from the defense table. We didn't notice Tim's counsel shaking their head no, or throwing their pen, or showing any emotion or any idea of being upset. And then later, when we were outside talking to Tim's attorneys, I asked Tim's attorney, Michael Leonard, I said, how are Tim's spirits right now? And he said, Tim is a very resilient man. He's been through a long ordeal, but Tim is strong. He's a fighter, and he held his composure. That is what Michael Leonard said about his client, Timothy Norman. Moving on. Sheree or Cherie Williams, did anyone from the Montgomery side go over to say anything to the Griggs family after the verdict? Now, I did leave before both families left the courtroom, and there's like a little lobby area outside of the courtroom where the 2 families could have said something. I can't confirm or deny if they did or didn't. I know that up until now, the victim's advocate has been keeping both families separate, but I was outside before the 2 families even left the courtroom, so I can't confirm that. From Tanisha Martin, do you think the Griggs will file a civil lawsuit against Sweetie Pies? Someone else mentioned this as well. I don't know if they will or if they won't. I can say that in the case of O.J. Simpson, Nicole Brown Simpson's family did file a civil suit against O.J. Simpson and won. So although he was acquitted of the murder, they did sue him in civil court and won. So I don't know if the Griggs family plans on doing that. I will say that not that I won't be surprised. I'll say it's possible because of the precedent that has been set in other cases. For instance, the young woman who was charged with poking her attacker, she has to pay his family $150,000 in restitution because they were able to sue her for wrongful demise. I'm trying not to use these words because of YouTube. I don't want this video to get removed. So it is possible. That option is available to them. They didn't convey one way or another if they planned on it or if they were totally against it. So I can't answer that. L. Monroe, will Miss Robbie receive the $1 million insurance payout on Andre now that Tim has been found guilty? The thing with insurance policies is the beneficiary is the person who gets the money. If that person is somehow involved in that person's demise, they do not get the money. No one gets the money at this point. Tim was paying the premiums. Tim was listed as the 100% beneficiary on that policy. He has now been found guilty of the crimes that I mentioned. So no one will get that money. I don't even know if the Griggs family can sue the insurance company because Tim was paying the premiums. I don't know if Tim can sign over the benefit to the Griggs family. That is a question for a court dealing with insurance policy, death benefit payout, and who is the rightful beneficiary. But that is a great question. Patrice Smith, why didn't they give Tim a lie detector test? How were Tim's family side reactions? Was Tim's attorney reaction? So I already went over the reactions, but that is a great question. A lot of people have been asking, why didn't Tim get a lie detector test? I don't know if you mean in regards to the burglary at Ms. Robbie's house or a lie detector test in regards to this particular case. Again, Tim pleaded not guilty when he was first charged at his initial hearing. So at that point, there would be no lie detector test. A lie detector test happens during questioning, but questioning happens when you're not sure if someone is involved. By the time charges were brought up on Tim, they had all of their ducks in a row, that they not only got a warrant for Tim's arrest, they were arrested him, charged him, and indicted him on the crime. So we were past a lie detector test at that point. Ms. Ford 57, how did they get caught? What caused police to look at Tim and the gang? So if you guys can remember from some of my previous videos, it's the one that has Trevel's picture on the thumbnail and it says fourth conspirator named. Trevel allegedly made a phone call to his own brother in jail, and you know that all of those calls are recorded. And during that phone call, he said, "Can you believe that N-word Tim paid me $5,000 to kill his nephew?" So from that record, that was some evidence to look further into it. Also, Trevel was arrested for drug possession. He was found with in possession of ecstasy. So when someone is looking into charging someone, they look at their past criminal history, and there's a word for it. It's the people you hang around with. So not likely suspects, but basically the company you keep. So they saw that Trevel had a brother in jail. Pulling the phone records, they found that piece of evidence. However, that evidence was never brought in, was never admitted. It was never even mentioned or brought up. But again, Trevel pleaded guilty and is being sentenced later on this month. So I think there are other. Oh, and the insurance company, because Tim had filed a complaint, he had his lawyer send the insurance company a letter letting him know his intentions and that he was wanting the death benefit. But the insurance company let Tim know, hey, we're still waiting for you to be cleared as a suspect, which takes about a year or so. We are also looking for you to provide the death certificate. That's what takes a year or so, is getting the death certificate. The insurance company was waiting on the death certificate from Tim and some other materials that he didn't produce, but then he threatened to file a lawsuit against the insurance company. And from what people have said in the comments in some of my previous videos, the insurance company has like a flag that goes up when things like that happen, and that sends an alert to the police. So it's all internal things dealing with the insurance company. But I believe that the police had multiple instances of suggestions of Tim's involvement in this crime, that they had enough to dig further and ask for phone records and ask for travel records and ask for cell phone tower records. It was with that evidence they were able to draw and get a warrant for Tim's arrest, also Terica's arrest, also Trevel's arrest, also Wyell's arrest. Yep, another Maria. Why? What ways did vloggers at the trial support each other? That is a great question. So, thank you for bringing this up. The only bloggers who were at the court for the entire time and the verdict reading were myself, Randomness of Vel, and Chronicle Speaks. Vel and I had been there since day one of the trial. Chronicle Speaks had been there this week as we were getting to closing arguments and that the jury was going to break to deliberate. But so if anyone else has any video footage or says that they were here, they are incorrect because we have been there the entire time covering this trial. Now, there are other bloggers who had contacted some people who lived in St. Louis and they were reporting back to those bloggers, but they themselves weren't bloggers or content creators. So the actual content creators, bloggers and vloggers, journalists who were on the scene were myself, Chronicle Speaks, and Randomness of Vel. And we supported each other by, hey, they're going into the courtroom. There's a break. We got each other coffee. We were, if someone went to the bathroom, it was like, take your phone with you. So we'll let you know what was going on. Whenever we saw something happening, we would share notes with each other. Chronicle Speaks shared some documents with me. Vel shared some documents with me, and he actually helped me set up this live through StreamYard because I had no idea how to do it. So we have definitely been supporting each other. Vel has dropped me a blessing in my super chat, and I'm going to return the favor. We've been watching each other's videos, liking each other's videos, and subscribing to each other's channels. So that's how we've been able to support each other. We got 2 more questions. Was Charles or Monique there today? Monique was there. Charles was not there during the verdict reading, but Charles did show up later in the afternoon. As I was standing with the Griggs family when they were releasing the balloons, someone beeped their horn and one of the sisters said, "Is that Charles?" So I believe Charles did drive by, but as you guys can remember, Charles and Andre were very close. So I do feel that Charles is probably torn as to supporting his Aunt Robbie and his cousins, but also supporting his cousin Andre's family as well. So it's a difficult situation for Charles and the entire family to be in. Last question. What were the emotions on the Montgomery side? Again, people were visibly upset. JR, Tim's friend, who you guys can remember from season 1, he showed up after the verdict was read. So he had to, excuse me, he had to hear secondhand from the family members that Tim was found guilty. So there was a, oh man, kind of look on his face. So again, total disappointment from Tim's side, Tim's family side, and then just a feeling of relief from Andre's family side. So that does it. That is the conclusion. I'm also going to do a pre-recorded wrap up of how we got here from the actual crime in 2016 to the arrest in 2020 to the court case here in 2022. So look out for that on Monday. Thank you guys again so much for, I know, poor Charles simply read. I agree. If you have a big family and you have a favorite cousin, I can't imagine losing my favorite cousin. So I do feel for Charles. I feel for everyone. I feel for the Griggs family. I feel for the Montgomery family. I feel for Charles. This is not, and let me say this was not a pleasant situation for anyone. Everyone was hopeful for the best outcome for them, and just one side didn't get the outcome that they wanted. So they were saddened by that. But this is not a situation that anybody should have been in. No, there are no winners here. We're happy that there was justice served for Andre. The killer, Travell Hill, is behind bars, and the co-conspirators have been found guilty, and their sentencing will come later. Travell Hill will be sentenced on September 20th. Terica and Wael on October 26th. Tim's sentencing is December 15th at 1:20 p.m. in the Eastern District of Missouri Federal Courthouse. That's all I have for you guys today. Go and watch Randomness of Vel because he's going to be going live at either 8:30 p.m. or 9 p.m. Central Time because he is in Chicago. Chronicle Speaks is on her way back to where she lives right now. I don't know if she ever shared where she lived, but she's going back home. So safe travels for her, safe travels for Vel. Go and watch his live tonight. Support both of their channels, Chronicle Speaks and Randomness of Vel. Subscribe to their channels, like their videos, like their lives. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for your support of the Griggs family. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for liking my videos. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And until next time, stay safe.